Because I haven't been working for a living for 20 odd years now, I still need and want the same things as other people. I still want a nice home, I still want a vehicle, I want to be able to travel. I like nice things. My wife likes nice things, my daughter likes nice things. So we still have these needs that we want fulfilled. But when you're not working for a living and you don't have this income coming in all the time, you really have to question how you're going to achieve this, because it is not possible in the world as the world is set up to be. If you're not working and you're not busy, most people are living on the street, unless they've already got lots of money they've inherited or something like that. But most people need to just keep working. But I've come to the understanding is that the world is nothing but your mind. And what I mean by this is everything in the world that we see, feel, touch, hear, everything that we believe is there is really just a reflection through your mind. It's a projection through your mind. So the way I've learned to see it now is the world is like a canvas, is like the film screen in a cinema. And then you have a movie camera with a film running through it. And the film running through the camera is like your thoughts. It's like the pictures of your thoughts. And then the body is more like the movie camera. It has a lens, it has an eye, like we have eyes. And then these thoughts, in the way of film, are projected onto the screen, which is the world. And then we are like the light, the soul and the spirit is like the light that shines through the lens, projects through the film, and projects that onto the screen of the world. And science has come to this same realization, is that the physicalness of the world is actually not physical. So science has come to this understanding that the physical world, physical matter, is not physical, but it's energetic. And the more you focus in on matter and you go into smaller and smaller particles, they, at a point, they stop appearing as matter and they start appearing as energy. And so this is the new science of quantum physics, that everything is actually energetic and it's not physical, and the only thing that is making it appear as physical is basically consciousness. Without consciousness, it doesn't appear. Only when consciousness is projecting onto it and a thought or a belief does it appear. So we're in a landscape, the world landscape, which is really just a projection through the mind. And if you take the mind away from the equation, there is nothing. There's just potential. There is a potential kind of quantum mix, or quantum soup. So we are seeing the world according to our beliefs and our thoughts. And so if we're suffering, which the world is suffering at the moment, people are suffering, there's extreme suffering going on at the moment. If we're suffering, it doesn't make sense to try and change the projection. It doesn't make sense to try and change the images on the canvas. You've actually got to change the film. You're still a light, that is a constant, that doesn't change, that's who you are. But the thoughts and the beliefs, that is where change, the only place where change can actually happen and take place. So we need to change our thoughts and we need to change our beliefs. And the reason the world is suffering at the moment is because of our insane beliefs and the way we think about ourselves and the way we think about each other. And all suffering, all sickness and all suffering comes from the mind, and it is only in the mind that it can be corrected. If you think about it, every problem that you've ever experienced and every form of suffering that you've ever suffered were your thoughts. You suffered your thoughts. You only ever suffered thoughts. And even the body, even if you have pain in the body and you think you're suffering the body, it is the mind that feels the suffering. If you take the mind out of the equation, if you separate the mind from the body's inert, it doesn't experience anything, it doesn't feel anything. And therefore that's like what anesthetics does, or anesthetics do, is that they disengage the mind from the physical body, and therefore they can, doctors and surgeons can work on the body without experience of pain. So all pain and all suffering is really only experienced because of our thoughts and our mind. And so, me not working for 20 years, but still wanting a beautiful life and still wanting the abundance of, a beautiful home and a vehicle and be able to travel and do all these things, I really had to question, where is this going to come from? Because the way the world is set up, it is not set up to support us, but to keep taking from us, in the way of taxes and in the way of fines. There isn't any support in the world because of our beliefs, because of the way we're thinking about ourselves. The world is a miraculous landscape, and the function of the world, or the function of the universe, which is really the function of God, is to give us everything that we desire, or everything that we ask for, everything that we want. But if we keep asking for the wrong things, or if we keep asking for things that hurt us, or we keep asking for things that are going to make us suffer, there's no judgments from the universe, there's no judgments from God, there's no judgments from nature. They just keep giving us what we ask for. And this is really the role of suffering. If we keep asking for the wrong things, and we keep asking for what is not true and what is not real and what is actually going to hurt us, we suffer. We suffer confusion, we suffer pain, we suffer, many of the hatred and the anger and the disease and the sickness. We suffer all these things, and there's a role to suffering. There's a thing where suffering actually works to push us into a place to really question our reality, question our thoughts, question our thinking, question our lives. So suffering has this quality to it, that although it's hard and it's super challenging, it pushes you deeper inside, because at a fundamental level, we are spiritual beings and we are created in love and kindness and beauty. And if we're not living in a world that has all those qualities, we are going to suffer. So this is like, if you're in a nightmare, the best thing that can happen in a nightmare is to wake up. But all the time you're lost in a nightmare and you're in the nightmare, you're suffering the thoughts that you're having. Nothing is actually happening in reality, you're just suffering the thoughts. So in this world, which is much more like a dream than a physical reality, in this world we are suffering our thoughts. And the best way to correct our thoughts is basically to wake up, which is the meaning of enlightenment, to bring light back into the darkness again, to reawaken, to become awakened. And so to realize that everything that we're experiencing in the world is coming from our minds. And this is why there is only actually one mind. We don't all have separate minds. We've been taught that we all have separate minds and separate brains, and that the brain is the source of the mind. That's incorrect. We all share the same thoughts because we actually all share one mind. And when we realise that actually we're all part of a oneness, and that our shared mind is actually a divine mind. It's a loving mind. It's a caring mind. It's a powerful mind. It's the most powerful thing in the universe. It's the most powerful thing we have. It's a gift. It's an absolute blessing to have a beautiful mind that is loving and creative and abundant. Can create abundance, can create everything. But it can also, it is so powerful, and it is without judgment. That it can create hell as well. And if you've fallen into darkness and you've fallen asleep and you've got lost within the illusion, you're basically going to experience the nightmare. And this is where we're at the stage of the world at the moment, is that we're deeply within a nightmare. And we're starting to suffer to a point now it's becoming unbearable. And we're starting to realise that there is no escape from it. There is no fix. We've gone too far. We've destroyed too much. The planet is beyond our control. Everything outside of us is now is beyond our control. Climate change, wars, pandemic, viruses, all these things. So it's really pushing us to wake up now and to question our reality. And this, I've had 20 years now of diving deep into this, and it's come through fears. It has come through fears, because when these fears come up, we can either choose to follow the fear and do what it says that we must do, like I'm not going to be able to survive without money, I'm not going to be able to survive, I'm not going to be able to pay my bills, I'm not going to be able to do this. And then we go and we believe that fear, and then we go and get a job, and we start getting busy, and we kind of lose ourselves in the busyness of working. But if we actually just question the fear, start questioning the reality of the fear, eventually you come to the realization that the fear is part of the illusion. It's part of the dream, and it's not part of our reality. So it's not part of the reality of the spirit or the soul, which is, a non-physical part of our nature, which is bringing life into the body. The body is, I like to see the body as, it's not actually living, the body is inert. We bring life into the body, we bring our spirit, and we empower the body, and the mind empowers the body to walk and do and play and do all the things and all the functions of the body are all under the direction of the mind. But it's our life force that is doing this. Without that life force and without that mind, the body is inert. The body dissolves away, basically, disappears. It goes back into the earth and becomes a stinking mass of flesh, and nobody wants it. Once the soul has left the body, once the spirit has left the body. So the way I see the body now is that it's not actually a living thing. We are living. The soul is living. The spirit is living. The body is inert. It actually doesn't have any intelligence. It's the mind that's intelligent. It has an intelligent design. Its design is intelligent. But it's the mind that has designed it. It's the spirit that's given power to the mind to design it. The body itself is completely inert without the mind. You take the mind away, you're unconscious. You're in a coma. Without consciousness, you're in a coma. And if you take the life force out of the body, it's dead. It doesn't do anything. It has no intelligence. Then all it does is follow the laws of nature, and that is, it just dissolves away and is incorporated back into the earth again. So I'm not saying the body is not an amazing instrument, because it is. It's an incredible instrument, and part of its complexity is so that it cannot be understood. Because if we really understood the mind, you see, this is why I kind of feel like the ego has hijacked the body, and it's so complicated. The body is so complex so that it cannot be understood, because the ego level, the ego does not want to be understood. The ego does not want to understand anything in reality, because if you understood reality, you wouldn't believe in the ego. You wouldn't believe in the body as yourself if you understood reality. If you understood yourself as a spiritual being that was unlimited and free, you wouldn't be fooled by the illusions of the egoic mind that is trapped within the body or has hijacked the body. This is part of waking up, and part of becoming enlightened is that you're bringing the light of the self and the light of the soul. That consciousness is now awakening in the body, and you're letting go of the egoic mind, the egoic thoughts, the beliefs of the ego, the beliefs of separation. And as we do this collectively, as we do this throughout the world, and the more people that do it, the greater the shift will happen, where we will see that actually the universe is supporting us. That is its only function, is to support us and to give us everything that we ask for. And therefore, the physicalness of nature, which we understand now is not physical, it's energetic, will shift as we ask it to shift. So we can have all the things that we want. We just ask for them, and then we wait and they come. And this has been my experience over these 20 years, is that you just need patience to wait. You just ask, and the more you believe in it, the more you believe in your spiritual nature, the more you believe in your cosmic self, and the less you are attached to the physical beliefs and the physical rules of this world, the more you disengage from those rules and those laws, and the more you engage in the spiritual understandings of who you are, the quicker those things manifest, because you're not blocking them anymore. You're actually just putting your will out there, and they come to you when the time is right and when you actually are ready for them. So it's an unlearning process, So I've had to go through a major unlearning process, which I think we're all going to be going through, and we all are in the process of going through. I started my journey 20 years ago, and it's been quite challenging because it was a lonely journey for a while. It felt very lonely. And I didn't have a guru to guide me or lead me along the way. But what I realised is that the real guru is inside you. The true teacher is in your mind, and it is that part of reality that is ultimately guiding everybody. And it's even that part of reality that is causing us to suffer, because it's forcing us to wake up, because we've created such a disturbance to our happiness and our joy, that the suffering is become extreme. And so it's really a way. I think this is a time of bringing wisdom back into the world again. The world is devoid of wisdom. Our leaders, our politicians, our rulers, those people in power, those people with all the wealth, they lack wisdom. They have a capitalist mindset, a separation belief that they can do what they want, and they're doing it for the best. I do believe absolutely that they're doing the best they can at their level of consciousness, but they lack the wisdom of true knowledge. And if you think about it, like all the wars in the world that's ever happened were all started by either politicians, politics, governments, or rulers, kings and queens. They all lacked wisdom. They all wanted power. They all wanted to promote their own agendas. And so all of this, and all the rules and the laws that they created, thinking that that they are protecting themselves basically, but they also believe that they're protecting other people, because they're doing it at the end of the day, thinking they're doing the right thing. But all these rules and all these laws are making us suffer, because we are actually beings of freedom. We should actually be free, and we should not be imprisoned and restricted by laws and rules and fines and all these things imposed on us by basically other human beings who are in positions of power that are unwise and lack wisdom and lack the truth of knowledge, really, the knowledge of who they are and therefore the knowledge of who everyone else is. And therefore they lack compassion, they lack true compassion, they lack true humility. This is why, it's so easy for people in power to make huge mistakes, and really affect and cause a lot of damage and suffering to people because they are so confused themselves. So my not working for 20 years has been incredibly profound, what it's taught me. It's been super challenging at times. And even, like early in the mornings I wake up and often I have a fear come up around, how am I going to survive? How's my family going to survive? Because all the time you are in the body, you are under the dictates of the ego. You still are. The body is the home of the ego. So you still, it doesn't mean you're not going to experience fears, but once you have the wisdom and the knowledge of your true reality, and you can bring your focus, like what I do in the mornings when these fears come and they wake me up, I sit in meditation and I actually look for myself, and I find myself. I realize, I recognize I'm not the body. Sometimes I go through I scan my body and I say I'm not that, and I'm not that, and I'm not my hand, and I'm not my leg, and I'm not my heart, and I'm not my stomach, and I'm not my eyes. And I see that I'm not any of those things. And then eventually I come to a point of, well, where am I? And then I realize I'm actually not even in the body. I'm actually outside the body. I'm unlimited. I'm free. I'm a cosmic being. And then once I can see that, that's all that's necessary then. Because once I see that, then I can basically return. I can start my day, and the fear is completely gone. Because now I've basically overridden the fear. I've denied the fear any power. Because I've seen who I am, and then I realize once I've seen who I am, that the fear is only related to the body, it's only related to the ego. And then once you have a true vision of yourself, and you realize that you're not the body, and therefore the ego is not real, then it disappears. The egoic mind completely disappears, and the fear disappears. And this is incredible experience to have, and this happens, I have to do this all the time actually, sometimes daily, sometimes, and I think it's, it's part of the journey that we're on, is to actually face these fears and go into them and come to the truth. They will bring, that suffering will bring you to a place of understanding in yourself, where the suffering will actually disappear, because the belief in the fear and the belief in the not good enough, or all the beliefs in the shame and all those things, they will all just disappear, because the body is not our reality. We are so much more than what the body is, and the world is so much more than the physicalness that the body is projecting. We're living in a miraculous world, and the body is an incredible vehicle of projection. And if we use it consciously, we can have an incredible life here and have an incredible experience. But if we use it unconsciously, we're literally making hell for ourselves. And this is what we've been doing for 1,000 years. We've been creating hell for ourselves. And this is the time to undo all that. To wake up. This is the ending of the dream. This is the apocalypse. This is the end of time. This is the time. This is the time to do it. Don't put it off. start the journey now. It's a beautiful, beautiful journey.